If you enjoy Draw and Paint What You Regret on YouTube and would like to show your support, you can find Cash App and Venmo information below. By all means, this channel is free to watch and learn from. Enjoy! Hey young artists, so I am back with another tutorial for my abstract drawing 1 class. So today, yes, we are starting, or this week, we are starting a new project. So this project is actually project number 6. So in project number 6, we're going to deal with the element of space, and we're also going to deal with the principle of design, that is rhythm. So when it comes to what we're using today, we're going to use gray paper with black or white pencil. So the reason why I put black or white pencil is because students are going to have the choice of using charcoal white and or charcoal black, or they have the choice to use Prismacolor white or Prismacolor black. So you can use a Prismacolor, which is a color pencil, or you can use charcoal. Either or will definitely work with this gray paper. So for the tutorial, for the actual demo, I'm going to use my Prismacolor pencil. So I'm going to use color pencils for it. I tend to do that because for me lately, more and more, although I love charcoal, it gets very messy rather quickly. And I love the fact that I can come in with color pencils and it give me somewhat of the same effect that charcoal pencils would give on gray paper. So I wanted to kind of just break in and talk about that. That way, if I have students that are missing in class, they kind of got an idea what materials they're going to use, and I'll probably go back over materials again. So also, you guys, when it comes to the different types of space, there's a lot of different types of space. I actually put down just a few that I can just quickly jot down. So you can deal with space when it comes to size. So different sizes of things can create space as they start to move back into space, as well as placement. So placing things in certain areas, whether it's a foreground, middle ground, or background, that also can give you an idea of space, color, and also value, depending on what you're dealing with. If you're dealing with just values, typically lighter values can also sit far back in the background. Mid-tones are typically middle ground of a composition. Typically you want full spectrum of values in your foreground. So you can maneuver into some darker, some lighter. You just want to at very least have 3 to 4 values to kind of help with that space or color. When it comes to color, typically if you move into the background, colors can tend to become more cooler, more grayish. Full spectrums of color is in the foreground, and you kind of have a mid-tones of colors in the middle ground. Then when it comes to overlapping, you guys, that also helps with space as well, because you can overlap objects that moves into space. Then detail, sometimes rendering, if you're coming in with light logic principles, that also helps with space because it's turning form and we're given the illusion that you could possibly walk around it. So detail can definitely help when it comes to trying to get particular space, as well as perspective. Any type of linear perspective, whether it's 1 point, 2 point, or 3 point, or atmosphere perspective, and also isometric perspective can help with that as well. So those are different types of space that you can play around with when it comes to trying to figure out a composition with that. When it comes to different types of rhythm, so rhythm and space are similar, although one is an element of art and the other one is a principle of design, but they're similar. And the reason why I'm saying that is that to simplify it down, you can have irregular rhythm or you can have a regular rhythm. So if we look at this composition here, this is regular rhythm because somewhat of all the spaces are consistent, right? This can fall under irregular, or it can fall under regular, but I would choose to say this is irregular. This is definitely irregular when it comes to rhythm, right? Another thing when it comes to rhythm, you want to think about repetition, movement, or action by repeating elements of design. So if you're seeing my composition, it's very, I would just say, simplified down to just lines and shapes, but I am still trying to think of my space. And what I'm thinking about is shallow space, not so much of deep space. And I'm also thinking about size, placement, and value. A little bit of overlapping as well, not so much details, definitely not perspective. So when you are dealing with that repetition, we're repeating shapes, we're repeating lines, but it also has a bit of a movement in that type of rhythm in the composition. So a lot of, in my opinion, rhythm and space are very similar, so they're kind of easy to use together because you're just thinking about how you're moving the eye back into space, whether if it's in a rhythmic way or using rhythm in that way, but you're going to pull an eye in some type of direction, whether it's space vertically up or down, or you could say height, because height also deals with space, as well as if you're moving with space in depth. But you can definitely do that with playing with rhythm as well, because they both kind of do the same thing. So another thing I want to talk about just real quick in this intro is I want to talk about composition. So my students are going to learn a little bit more about composition. So I'm going to go over even composition. It's a composition structure, as well as armatures. So there's different types of armatures, like root rectangles, golden means, or golden sections. There's a lot of names for this. And then also the rule of thirds. So golden means, golden sections, golden root, even the rule of thirds are very consistent. Most young artists know these as some type of composition structure. When it comes to root rectangles, that's probably a little bit new because that deals with a little bit more geometry, but root rectangles over time ends up being the rule of thirds, because you're dealing with a lot of rectangles within a space that also deals with different types of whether you're coming in with an X, you're dividing that, coming in with another X, dividing that. It tends to end up becoming a bunch of different rectangles. And when you have crosshairs, those crosshairs is where you want to place certain I guess you say points within your composition for the eye to go, is what how I'm going to simplify it down. So when it comes to an even composition is just that. It's just even all over. So the one thing that I did not 100% think about, because I was really focusing on my artwork when it came to just rhythm and space, I wasn't 100% thinking about, am I using the rule of thirds? Am I using an armature, or even all over composition? But I'm gonna be honest with you, one of these can fall within that. Like, this is definitely even all over. If we're thinking about a root armature or a rule of thirds, that's where it's going to get a little bit difficult. Even with the golden means, that's a little difficult, but we can say this can fall under that ratio for the golden means or the golden section, because it's really a ratio of 1.618. So that means that we have a square that's here, and then we have kind of like a rectangle shape. But when you think about the golden means, you think about that snail. So this can honestly fall under golden means if we really think about it. It's kind of an asymmetrical kind of composition. And then when it comes to the rule of thirds, like I said, I didn't really think any of this through when it comes to that, but we definitely, these two can fall under even composition, or it can fall under the golden means. This can possibly fall under a root rectangle, but I don't know, because I would have to draw in the crosshairs for it to make sense with what I'm trying to go for. So my students are going to learn about this in class. I'm going to go in depth into a lecture, but this kind of just gives somebody that is following along with this video an idea of some composition structures that they can possibly look up on the University of YouTube, or the University of the Googler, which is Google. So it's really up to the artists that want to learn more about this. But I just wanted to come in with an intro, and it's always never quick. It's always about 10 minutes. But I just wanted to talk about these few things. That way students have an idea of what I was thinking, what was my process, what was my ideas, and what I was actually going for in this actual artwork. Really quick, when it comes to supplies, you guys, I am using gray paper. So I do have a heavy border around my gray paper because I know for sure I'm not going to go into my background. So when I tape it down, at least I want to have some type of border there. And then I am using a Prismacolor erase pencil for getting my drawing down. I'm going to do my best to do this lightly. And then I am using, for some value rendering, Prismacolor Premier regular color pencils. As you can see, there's no eraser on the end of it. And then I am going to use this Jumbo Jet Black, which I have no idea what is the properties of this pencil. This is from Jerry's Artorama, and I'm assuming, because it's very similar to a color pencil with how it feels, so I would have to look at the actual, what is the elements within, or at least what is the make of this pencil. But I do believe it's possibly oil or wax with some type of binder in the actual core, because that's what it feels like. So I'm sure I can use that with my color pencils as well. So I just wanted to kind of talk about that. Of course, just in case I need it, I do have a ruler near. I just want to talk about some materials and what I'm going to be using for this actual composition. Other than that, you guys, definitely stay tuned for the demo. That way you get an idea of what thumbnail I choose and what I'm actually going to do. So I will see you guys in the next clip. Bye, guys. Hey everyone, so I'm coming in with a quick voiceover, and in this voiceover I'm just going to talk a little bit about my process. So when it comes to this actual, I guess you could say it's more of a gesture, I'm just getting the gesture down of my thumbnail. So on the right side of the screen is the finished product, but I was working from my actual thumbnail. So I'm starting with a gesture because I really want to make sure I have fluid lines. My image basically is just shapes, lines, as well as values, and I only picked about 4 different values: a light gray, a dark gray, as well as black and white. So I wanted to keep it simple. I wanted to make sure that I'm using a sense of overlapping when it comes to getting space. I didn't get that much space. It's very shallow space. But I also wanted to, I think I was really paying attention, or I wanted to really show rhythm in my composition. So because I really wanted my lines to be fluid, I really kept my drawing very gestured, and I corrected drawing as I went. So I was using my Prismacolor erase pencil for the drawing, which is a light. I made sure I had a light hand so I could get light lines with that black pencil. And then I erased out the lines for my white leaves, because I didn't want my Prismacolor erase pencil and my Prismacolor Premier pencil to mix. Typically on gray paper, whether you're working in color pencils or charcoal, traditionally you don't want your black and white pencils to mix. So you just want to make sure that you're using the paper to its full advantage when you are drawing. So the paper is the in between. The paper is the value for us, for our class, because our class is on a typically most of my classes are on a value scale 1 through 5. So you want to make sure the paper is the mid-tone, which is a value 3 for us. So I used the Prismacolor erase pencil for more of my darker grays, and I came in with the black Prismacolor pencil, or Prismacolor Premier pencil, for my dark, or basically for my blacks, not my darks. So I plugged in my white or light values first, and then I plugged in my dark values, which is my black values, second, because I wanted to make sure I can gauge my darker gray tone, or have somewhere to go that in between where it's light but it's also darker than the white and lighter than the black. So I wanted to make sure I had those values down, that way I can gauge it just right. So I just wanted to pop in because I know you guys can probably barely see my actual gesture drawing, because that's how light I wanted to keep my drawing, because I know I wanted not so much line to be dominant. I wanted my values or my tones, because I'm dealing with 4 tones, to be dominant in this composition. So as I am plugging in my values, I am cleaning up my drawing as I'm going. So just kind of keep that in mind, because my gesture was just that. It was a gesture of just shapes and lines. But I just wanted to talk about just a little bit of my process and my thought process and what I am doing. I am thinking about line weight variation, because I am using lines. I didn't get that much variation in my line work, but I wanted to have a little bit of those different tones even with lines. So you guys, this is pretty much just my voiceover of a little bit of my process. That way you have an idea of what I am doing and how I am using my materials. So my Prismacolor Premieres, I am using them on top of my Prismacolor Erase, because those pencils are softer. I do plug in some of that. I think it's the Jerry's Art Arama. I want to say it's a color pencil, but I did plug that in certain areas for some really rich darks. And it gave me that, and I was happy with that approach. But other than that, you guys, I will see you in the next demo. I will talk to you. I'll talk to you guys later, or at least I'll talk to you guys in class. But enjoy this demo. I enjoyed it. I actually loved how it turned out. I'm really enjoying some of these demos with my abstract class, and I'm loving their artwork as well, my students' artwork. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.